Self-care can be challenging at any time of the year, especially through the winter when people are experiencing the winter blues or seasonal affective disorder, because when that sun goes down and those days become so gloomy, our serotonin levels just dip, and our serotonin levels are also known as our happy hormone. So I have 5 self-care tips to make you feel happier this winter, and I can't wait to show you them. So the 5 self-care tips that we'll be covering today is nourishment, stabilizing your blood sugar, exposing yourself to as much natural daylight as possible, which I know is not always possible. So we're also going to cover how to utilize full spectrum lighting or a sad lamp, and then as well as elevating your environment, which I think is so important through these gloomy months because a lot of your time is spent indoors. So without further ado, let's go into the video. So the first tip I have for you guys is exposing yourself to natural sunlight. So the sun can actually directly impact the level of serotonin that we produce in our body. So serotonin is our happy hormone, and it is influenced by the direct sunlight that we are exposed to. So when it is winter and the months are gloomy and the sun isn't out, our serotonin levels tend to dip. So what we want to do is try to expose ourselves to as much sunlight as we can when it is peeking through. It's like a breath of fresh air. So get outside whenever you can and let your face just shine into the light and look indirectly to the sun and just soak up that natural vitamin D and increase those serotonin levels. Okay, so the next thing that I want to talk about is exposing ourselves to full spectrum lighting or utilizing a sad lamp, because especially living here in Canada, we can go weeks without seeing any sun at all. So this little thing is extremely helpful, I find, in the winter months. It's just a sad lamp. I can link one on the comments below, but you can find so many of these on Amazon or like your local store, wherever. But what you want to do is that you just plug it in and then you sit about 16 to 24 inches away from it, and you don't look directly into the light, but obviously follow the manufacturer's guidelines, because some of the sad lamps will have different variations on the distance that you should sit from the light. But the concept behind this is that it's supposed to increase our serotonin levels, because our serotonin is directly influenced by the amount of daylight that we are exposed to throughout the day. So by sitting in front of this for 20 to 30 minutes, preferably upon awakening, can really help boost those serotonin levels. But yeah, so I would highly encourage to get one of these. The 4th tip that I have for self-care during the winter months is to expose yourself to elevating your environment. What I mean by that is exposing yourself to negative ions versus positive ions. So I won't go into the full science behind what a negative ion is, but what I want you to know is that you want to expose yourself to as much negative ions as you possibly can. And you can get that by going outside and going into nature, so the forest, the air, the wind, like a waterfall, which I know not everyone has accessibility to a waterfall, especially in the winter, but you can achieve the same effect by being inside and having your shower going and listening to the sound of the shower as it sounds like a waterfall, or music, or even essential oils like bergamot can really help expose ourselves to those negative ions, and those negative ions have been proven to increase our serotonin levels. So one of the biggest tips that I can give as a nutritionist for pretty well any condition out there is to stabilize your blood sugar. So throughout the winter we can feel pretty tired, and blood sugar can be a culprit of that, because if we're having unstable blood sugar, that we're on this like roller coaster of it going up and down all the time, then it can leave us feeling very tired, lack of motivation, irritability, so very similar symptoms. I would suggest to stabilize blood sugar. So the best way that you can do that is focusing on pairing your carbohydrates with a healthy fat, fiber, or protein, or all 3 if you can. But I have a few amazing snacks that are easy to make but also will stabilize your blood sugar, so I will go ahead and show you guys those. So the first one that I have is just pairing your crackers with a cottage cheese because you have your carbohydrates from your crackers and then you have a nice protein source from your cottage cheese. Next one I have is just paring an apple. You can just simply slice it up and then I just pair it with some almond butter, and you can either scoop it onto the plate or you can just simply dip it right in, and it will save you time and you have a delicious snack with fiber and carbohydrates and a good healthy fat. Next one I have is just pairing some vegetables with either some cottage cheese or some hummus. I've just decided to do some peppers, cucumbers, and carrots. So you have your carbohydrates and then again your protein source from the cottage cheese or the hummus. So as a nutritionist, I strongly believe in nourishment and that food can hold such power at supporting our imbalances, and winter blues is no exception. So I want to focus on foods that provide our brain some love and fuel, like omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, and protein. So we're going to make a smoothie that contains all three of those, and omega-3 fatty acids help and reduce inflammation. Protein is like the building blocks of every muscle in our body, and then as well as B vitamins provide optimal fuel to our brain. So let's go ahead and make a delicious smoothie that will not only make us feel energized and feel great, but also support us through those winter blues. So for this smoothie, I am just using some plant-based milk, or you can use cow's milk, raw milk, whatever you prefer. And then I'm using some spinach and strawberries, just some fresh frozen strawberries, and some hemp hearts, chia seeds, and cottage cheese. I did about a tablespoon of each of the hemp hearts and the chia seeds, but you can kind of eyeball it to what you prefer. But those are the ingredients I'm going to be using. Oh, and then as well as flaxseed oil.